Welcome. You're listening to the Earth Conversations podcast, where we explore how to open up to the greater conversation with Earth herself and with our fellow co-inhabitants such as trees, animals, and plants through interspecies communication. In this time of environmental destruction, it truly is urgent that we begin exploring what Earth and her other than human communities are telling us. If you like to explore more in-depth material on this subject, please also visit our blog at earthconversations.org, where you can sign up to be notified through email about new podcast conversations, blog posts, events, and much more. We're excited and happy to have you join us for this podcast as we now go lie our heart at the ground and listen. Hi everybody, and welcome to Earth Conversation. My name is Mybrit Jo, and today I'm here with Cynthia Jurs. Cynthia Jurs is a Tibetan Buddhist lama and a Dharmacharya in the order of Interbeing of Zen Master Thich Hanh, whose source of refuge and spiritual inspiration is Mother Earth, Gaia. In 1990, she made a life-changing pilgrimage to meet the hermit and meditation master Kushok Mangden Charok Rinpoche, a 106-year-old lama living in a remote cave in Nepal, from whom she received the practice of the Earth Treasure Vases when she asked him, "What can we do to bring healing and protection to the Earth?" For 30 years, Cynthia has been building a global community committed to planetary healing and collective awakening in partnership with elders and activists around the world. Cynthia teaches an innovative blend of engaged Buddhism and sacred activism through the Earth Treasure Vase Global Healing Project, the Open Way Sangha in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and the international Gaia Mandala Community. Through her nonprofit Alliance for the Earth, Cynthia has worked in Liberia, West Africa, with former combatants and women who stopped the war, building peace, teaching mindfulness, and co-founding the Peace Hut Alliance for Conflict Transformation. Cynthia's book, Summoned by the Earth, is forthcoming. Welcome, Cynthia, and what an enormous honor to have you here with us today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
I am so touched by your Earth Treasure Vase Global Healing Project because it's such a profound way and such a subtle way to communicating with the Earth. And I understand that your tradition has this immense connection with Mother Earth and love for Gaia. Can you tell us a little bit about your tradition and the connection with Earth and Gaia?
Absolutely. Although I would say that I have had to find that connection for myself. The lineage of Tibetan Buddhism and Zen Buddhism in general, that I am so steeped in, really does not stress a deep connection to the earth. There's an honoring of the earth for sure. And depending on the connection to the early roots of Buddhism in the particular part of the world that it's coming from. Some cultures have that more intact today than others, but in general, Buddhism is kind of a mind-oriented teaching, not an embodied spiritual practice. So I have struggled a lot with my Buddhist Dharma practice over the many years that I've been involved with it, kind of looking and searching and yearning for some more direct connection to the earth. And also to the feminine, because also Buddhist lineages tend to be very patriarchal and quite hierarchical. So I love the teachings, and I've had many really wonderful teachers. But there has been this kind of missing piece for the whole time. And gradually over the years, in coming up against some of the shadow aspects of the tradition, I have had to find my own way. And I didn't grow up inside of any particular religion, so I was always hungry for that spiritual connection, but I didn't, have it in me as a child, except for how it was arising spontaneously in my own experience, which was usually in nature, And anyway, I gradually became more and more aware that the earth was what I call my source of refuge, my real spiritual teacher, and the path that we talk about in Buddhism. We talk about the three jewels, which are the three sources of refuge, which are the teacher or the Buddha, the teachings, which are the Dharma, and the community, which is the Sangha. And we practice together as a community. We practice the teachings that we've been given by the Buddha. So it's a beautiful thing. But I realized that for me, those three jewels are embodied so beautifully in the earth as this living being who has all the teachings we could ever hope for perfectly embodied in the web of life. And the community, the teachings, and the teacher, the great teacher. So especially in the times that we're living in, it feels as if, to me, the earth is really calling us to wake up, to come together, to realize our interconnectedness within the web of life, that we are each a part of that, not separate. And so this is the calling that I have been responding to over all of these years from Gaia, from the earth. And I was lucky back in 1990, so 30 years ago, to have had the opportunity to meet this old wise man in the cave, the 106-year-old Lama Charok Rinpoche. And when I was, going to meet him, I was pondering what would my question be, because I realized I had this amazing opportunity to ask him a question. What came to me was, what do we do to bring healing and protection to the earth? Because as maybe you also feel in your own body, that suffering of the earth, when we look at what's happening around the world, and even back then, 30 years ago, I was deeply aware of what we were doing to the body of the living earth. And I felt it within myself, but I was, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to engage with that. So I received this practice from him that is a very traditional, very, very old Tibetan Buddhist practice to fill with symbolic offerings and prayers what are called Earth Treasure Vases, these little clay pots that were made for us to distribute around the world and to plant in the ground in places where healing and protection is called for. And so at first I didn't know what to do. The assignment was so completely overwhelming given the need. But it took me 5 or 6 years before I really picked up the practice. But then it's just been to take these little clay pots, and the rational mind kind of says, how is a little clay pot filled with prayers and symbolic offerings going to bring healing and protection to the earth? But the way that I've come to see it is that the changes that we're calling for, that we're praying about, that we care about most deeply, are not actually arising from within ordinary reality. They're not conditioned by the limitations of how we usually perceive reality. So the opportunity through meditation and ceremony and ritual and entering into a relationship with the web of life, with Gaia, is to find ourselves in an experience of something so much larger than ourselves. And in that place, to connect with what we love and care about most deeply, and make our prayers and our offerings on behalf of life. And then watch what happens, get out of our own way, and then see the arising of incredible responses from the earth and from life itself. And I'm sure you've had that experience. If you really open and ask, the responsiveness is right there. So we realize we're not separate from the earth in any way.
And that I found it so beautiful, because I completely feel this little offering of love that is these clay vases with all of the offerings inside them being buried down into the earth and lying there with that energy and that wish and that love and that inspiration and that longing inside it, just keeping that communication alive all the time whilst it turns into the earth. So it goes in, back into the very fabric it came with, but with a new vibration. And my rational mind, once upon a time also would have told me, what a bunch of bull, what are these little earth vases going to do with people's prayers and aspirations and inspirations and longings going to do for the earth. And I find it more and more important because I find it, for me, it represents something so much more deeper and more profound. And for me, what I feel is that it makes a bigger contribution, a bigger change than any talk about solar power or wind power or how to get rid of plastics. I'm not saying that those conversations shouldn't happen also, but if the conversations like the Earth Vase Treasure Project didn't happen, all of the other stuff would be, redundant. And that's the conversation that I'm, so longing within me to change, to live in a world where projects like the Earth Vase Treasure Project is as vital or even more recognized than any other conversation. So, and you've been doing this work for, 30 years. And how do you find that people are coming more together around it, or do you find that, it is more and more dismissed by the...
Oh, no. I find people are more and more interested and more ready to engage in something like this. It's been growing exponentially in recent years. And, of course, the internet has helped us to connect around the world without traveling. So we do a meditation with this practice every full moon, which is a time with the moon's fullness, and that happens to be tomorrow, when our aspirations and prayers are multiplied many thousands of times due to the effects of the full moon. So we do this practice, and people join via Zoom from all over the world. And I invite anyone to please do come and be with us in this way. But I've also been writing a book, which I will be hope will come out sooner than later. It's called Summoned by the Earth, and it describes my journey and the teachings that I've received through all of this going around the world. But in the beginning, people would kind of look at me with a puzzled expression and say, really, Earth Treasure Vases? Right. And they would just walk away. And now people hear about it and they say, oh, how interesting. where can I get one, or how can I learn more? And I feel as if the world situation has become so obviously unsustainable, and things are unraveling so quickly now. Unfortunately, we have got ourselves into this terrible mess, and so people are really trying to find solutions, and most of the solutions aren't really working. I mean, some of them are very important, like the things you mentioned, but to really make the shift that's called for is a very much deeper process within ourselves to wake up to our place in the web of life and our caring for the web of life, and our participation in the web of life, and to find our own personal calling, because each of us has a different gift to offer. Each of us has something we care most deeply about. And when we get in touch with that, which this practice can facilitate, then we are connected to what is ours to do as a contribution out of our compassion to the sustaining of life on earth, the transformation of suffering into healing and wisdom. So I feel as if this practice is really an answer to the call of these times. There's lots more I could say, but I can tell you when I ask something else.
Well, it's just that so many people today are looking for their bliss in order to get out of the making money only part. I mean, we're running ourselves dry trying to survive in this culture that we have created. And so I think you're right that so many people are looking for something deeper and a deeper connection. But everybody thinks that, it's a way to make money, and that's not necessarily it, because it's so much. What I love about the Earth Treasure Vase project is that it's so feminine. I mean, it's the embodiment of feminine power, true feminine power. And it's so subtle that nobody can take anything away from it. You can't. It's the womb. The vase is the womb, and you put it into the earth, and nobody can take your wishes or your inspiration or your love away from you. So it's not this. It doesn't belong to our culture as it is today. And with the full moon tomorrow and your full moon meeting meditation, and I just want to say I will leave a link in the description so that people can sign up for the full moon meditations if they'd like to. But the full moon tomorrow is on International Women's Day, and also my birthday, by the way.
Happy birthday!
Thank you. But it's such a classic thing that International Women's Day is about equality, and this equality to the masculine, where it's not really about the right feminine values. And so I'm wondering what you think about that, because the Earth Treasure Vase project is something I see as the true feminine in this world that needs to come so much more into focus. And I'm just wondering how you bear that through. I mean, how do you bear the feminine values more into your meditation and work through this work?
I guess it's just a natural part of it without it being something that we have to talk about too much. Anyone who holds one of these little clay pots and puts an offering inside of it, whether they consciously understand it or not, subconsciously they are participating in an experience of bringing together the feminine opening with the masculine offering, and it all comes together right there. And then when we practice with the little holy vessel, and as I have for 30 years, the teaching that has revealed itself more and more over time is that we are each holy vessels. We are each a vessel filled with love and caring, and our deepest gifts and offerings for what we love most, and that is something that we tend to override and ignore in our culture that tells us we need to do all these other things to be successful and all of that. So the practice of sending a little clay pot filled with all of our hopes and prayers around a circle and inviting everyone present to pour their hearts into it is an opportunity for all of us to reconnect with that deeper chord of caring and compassion that we so often ignore, and the vessel. When you think about being a holy vessel, you really have to get in touch with the quality of openness, the quality of even of emptiness, being able to receive whatever is arising and to hold it and to be the container for our own experience, for whatever is going on, for whatever is called for, whatever is the appropriate response in the moment. And the practice is, because it's about healing and protection and renewal, the intention that we form with our prayers is for that, to be of benefit in the world around us in whatever way we happen to be called to do. So there's really no separation between the clay pot. It's a symbol for that which we already are, and each of us has an offering to make. And, this is something that indigenous cultures have done forever, but we don't know what to do. But we do. If we stop and we connect with what we love and care about. Love is a powerful force in the world. Those stories of the baby crawling in front of the traffic and the mother leaping out and lifting a whole car so that the child is safe. We're superhuman when we're in touch with that love and that caring of a mother. And this is the energy of the earth, of Mother Nature, of Gaia. And so to cultivate that is the opportunity that we are being given in this time to embody and to wake up within. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense, and I keep being reminded of this little story. I just moved into a new house, and I have these two little rabbits living with me that I adopted from a bad situation. And when moving here, I felt a huge energy change. I actually didn't think that the connection to Earth could be in Denmark at this moment could be clear. And I was very surprised how the energy in the Earth is very different here from 30 kilometers more south. I was very surprised by it. And I was sitting down and I thought, okay, I'm feeling more energy getting freed up. And I thought, okay, so what is the most important thing I could do now, in this new place? What is the most important thing for me to offer now? Mm-hmm. And immediately this little image of, and this inner voice of loving the rabbits, just loving those 2 rabbits was the most important thing I could do right now. And It surprised me because, I do love them, but I was sitting down and with a bit of my Western mind as well, thinking, okay, so I'm here, I could do something, I could, walk the beach, or I could plant a garden, or I could, do more with this blog, or all of these things. But this simple answer, just love the rabbits, the love between the rabbits and me are actually the most important thing. And I got it, because the love is the key. So it doesn't really matter what you love. It's that profoundness of the interrelationship between you and the other so-called other personhood in this case, if you're talking about rabbits. And again, I was just astonished of the clarity of how much love means. Mm-hmm. And yes, maybe action will grow from there. Mm-hmm. But this is what you're saying. It's the love that is poured into it. And I also feel that this is what can't be messed up by whatever happens in our world, whoever is president, or what other catastrophe?
Catastrophe, yes.
Thank you. Catastrophe is happening. The antidote to all of this is the love that we individually can offer in the given situation that we're in.
Yeah. It's not a subtle thing. You've mentioned, you've said the word subtle several times, and sometimes I collaborate a lot with a guy named David Nichol, who wrote a book on subtle activism. It's a great book, and he's a wonderful teacher. We're teaching a course together soon called Gaia Calling. And but David and I talk about this a lot, because I feel as if the Earth Treasure Vase practice is actually not very subtle. Subtle activism, is really focusing on the intentions that we have, the love that we feel, the vibrations that we're putting out into the world through our practice, which does have a very powerful effect, and which should not be underestimated, even though you can't necessarily see it. So people struggle with that a lot. But I feel as if the practice with the treasure vases is not really very subtle at all, because first of all, we're putting our hands in the dirt. We may be working initially with our prayers and our intentions and our love and our kindness for what we care most about in the places that we care most about. But we're planting a seed that is very tangible. And the trick is to not have any preconceived ideas about how that seed will flower and what fruit it will bring, because we never know. It's like you say, you sat down with your new life experience in the new place you moved to, and open to what am I supposed to do here? And the answer that came was, love your rabbits. Love those rabbits, and it might not have been your idea of what you thought you should do, or maybe what you've been trained to do, or, what makes most sense. But there it is. And that act is contributing so much. It's when we connect with that, that deeper caring and calling that we're sending out into the world the answer. And so anyway, it's been amazing with the treasure vases, the things that have happened and the outcomes that do occur in spite of ourselves, And so, in fact, today, I don't mean today, but now, after having been doing this for such a long time and planting these little clay pots all around the world, and now having actually thousands of people involved, we are having this sense that all of the locations where the treasure vases have been placed in the body of the living earth are filled with a kind of life force energy themselves, and that the locations have created a kind of mandala around the whole earth, and that this mandala is coming to life as a whole. So for example, when you hold one of the vases in ceremony and you put your own prayers and offerings into it, and other people do as well, it comes into your hands and you have the experience. So many people have said this, oh my gosh, it feels like a living being. It's alive with all that caring, and it's like, oh, this has to go to Liberia. Oh, this has to go to Australia. This vase has a purpose, and it needs to go in the ground to fulfill that purpose. So you get that sense, and then it gets planted in the ground. And then we cultivate the practice over the full moons, invoking all the locations where they've been, calling them up and imagining the prayers and offerings radiating out into the whole area of the sphere of influence of that particular vase, and then connecting the whole earth. And now with close to 70 earth treasure vases buried in the ground, it feels as if the whole earth is responding to this intention. And there is something happening now that I don't know what it is. I don't know where that's going to go. I don't know how it really, it's working. But I feel as if it is. There's something happening here.
Oh, that brings up some questions about imagination, how powerful our imagination is. And you seem to have some experience with that, but also with do you think that the earth is dreaming up through these vases, through all of these inspirations? Maybe she's creating a new dream, a new world for herself. But that was the feeling that I got, that she's building from all of this, what she needs at this moment, and where she wants to go, and it just feels so beautiful.
Yeah, I don't know. I do feel as if this more beautiful world our hearts know is possible that Charles Eisenstein talks about. Yeah. That's something that each of us has the opportunity to contribute to. And yes, the earth is calling us, right? Through all of these more and more louder and louder voices, through fires and floods and the catastrophes that we're facing with climate change and the reactivity of humans in response to that. So we can focus on how horrible it is and get caught and stuck in that story forever and go down, down, down into a very depressing and terrible outcome. Or we can feed the spirit of what we love and what we care about and what we see when we stop long enough to ask those questions. What is the most important thing? and to open without ideas, without thinking we have the answers, but to open to something so much larger than ourselves, this web of life, Gaia, and to invite the inspiration to come that gives us our sense of knowing what is most important. And then we focus on that. And that becomes the feeding of the spirit of what we want to see in the world, right? And then slowly, that begins to take root and grow. And that then becomes our experience. Oh my God, look at my life. Look at what's happening in my little neighborhood with this garden, or with these rabbits, or with, with whatever it is, the care, the cleaning up of the beach, the transformation of our conversation, so that we're feeding the spirit of what it is we want to see in the world, instead of what we are in reaction to and don't want to see. That's not going to take us very far. It's already taken us as far as we can go, and there's really not very much farther we can go now on that in that direction.
Yeah. How do you hear the earth in your body? I mean, how do you experience her? I'm asking because how will people notice her call? You heard her call very early on, and you went to this Zen master in a cave living, and you asked the right question.
I had no idea what I was doing then, and I was stumbling up the path going. I didn't even realize when I had this opportunity that I had the chance to ask him a question. It wasn't until I was walking up the path that I realized, I'm going to go meet this old lama. I should ask him a question. What's that? And then I was struggling with what to find the question, and it just arose. And it did arise because I was feeling the pain in my own body as I was walking up the path. And that pain in my own body was mirroring a larger experience that I was aware of and carrying with me as I went through my life. So I think it is important to recognize that, and maybe this is true most especially for women, but I don't think it's only true for women, that we do feel the earth, the suffering of the world within our own bodies. And the more we expand our sense of self to include all beings, the more our own personal experience is a mirror for what's going on in the world around us. So we process our experience of the collective in our own bodies. And the illnesses that we are confronting in ourselves, body, speech, and mind, those illnesses are a reflection of what's happening to the body of the earth herself. And our little experience is a little microcosm of that whole. So as we do our own healing work within ourselves, if we have this perspective, then that healing is also affecting the whole, which is why it's so important to take care of ourselves, And we have ignored and overridden that voice within for such a long time that we don't even know how to do it anymore, So that's one answer. I spend a lot of time outside. I walk every day in nature. I happen to live in a place that I can do that, which I'm incredibly grateful for. It's important to find our place, no matter where you live, even if it's in a city, to go to some tree that you have a connection to, and be with it, sit with it, make offerings to it, give it your love, offer it your water or your tears, touch the ground beneath you. The Buddha, famously was sitting under a Bodhi tree when he had his moment of awakening. And in that moment, what did the Buddha do but touch the earth, summon the earth to witness what was happening? And I find that a profound act that we can all do, to call upon the earth to be be in relationship to us as we find our way. So find that tree, find that rock, find that place on the shore where you can sit and be with the ocean coming in and going out. Gaze at the sky, especially when it's cloudless and blue, if you happen to live in a place where that occurs, and just rest your gaze in that vast spaciousness, and see all of it as a reflection of our own nature. And then for me, I for many, many years, I have done a practice of Tara, who is a feminine deity within the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, who I formed a very close relationship with as I have been carrying out this practice around the world. And at a certain point, I realized, what I'm really seeking is a relationship with Gaia. And I felt as if Tara was the closest thing I could get to a kind of personification of this energy and nature of Gaia that I was yearning for. And so what began to happen is that Tara began to evolve into an embodiment of Gaia that I could visualize and form a relationship to within my meditation practice. And then a mantra came to me that is a mantra of Gaia. And a whole practice evolved that I'm now only as of February teaching publicly after many years of practicing this myself. But it's a beautiful practice, and it's a way for us to imagine, speaking of the power of imagination, imagine her in all of her in different forms, and then to imagine her, that we are her, that we're not separate, and then to imagine the power of her capacity for life flowing out and into the world in different ways. And of course, she holds a treasure vase, and that vase pours our love and our caring and our what we imagine is needed in the world out into the world. So this is a practice that I offer you and others who might be interested in learning that practice as a way to connect with her. It's a very Tibetan Buddhist oriented style of meditation. So it's not for everyone because it involves visualization and mantra recitation. But those are ways in which we can give our busy mind something to do while we enter into a state of awareness that is non-conceptual. And in that place, Thich Nhat Hanh is so famous for talking about stopping, stopping, taking another breath, breathing in and breathing out, returning to the present moment, which of course is the only moment. And in that place of stopping where the conceptual mind rests in open awareness, then anything is possible. That's the place where transformation and awakening can arrives, where we can see the way, the path, so much more clearly, and we know what our true purpose is. So all these ways of practicing are all about facilitating that experience in relationship to the earth as our great teacher, in these times. So, yeah.
It's funny you're mentioning all of this, because I have been for a while now looking for not a vision as such, but an imaginary experience of how this earth would be, how our culture would look if we did not impose ourselves on earth, but became a part on equal terms with everything else of this earth again. And I've been looking for this image of how to, because all our domestication, not just of ourselves, but of all of the other animals that we've domesticated, of all of the plant world we domesticated, all of our development of species, which is, it's a weird process we've been doing, and all of our monocultures and all of our way of using animals for our pleasure. Even, rabbits are so-called pets. It's pets in itself are a weird concept to me. And I've been looking for this, trying to find this way of talking to people about how would the earth, how can we come back to where we're not the makers of everything, where we're entering this relationship of naturalness with everything else, without enclosuring it, without putting it behind bars or forcing it to grow in a certain way. And it's been so difficult. And it's not because I want to foresee the future. I don't want to know how things are going, but I think if we can't imagine it, can it then become? Or will our imaginary process help things? And as you're speaking of this imaging, of this imagination and visualization, it seems so important, because I think if we cannot hold an image of it, it can somehow not come into birth fully.
Yeah. And absolutely.
And again, that connection with earth, of that dreaming that I felt with that mandala of the vases, what it is doing in the earth without one person knowing, because these are hundreds, if not thousands, of people's love and aspirations and inspirations into the earth, and it is seemingly, from when you speak, the feeling I get is that it's beginning to form an image, like you said, a mandala within itself that might serve, a greater purpose than any individual in that, without neglecting, because every individual in there is important. Otherwise, it couldn't become that mandala. How do you feel about that imagination and visualization of, I don't want to say the future, because it's not a premonition. It's just a dreaming in, like in the old Aboriginals. That's the dream time of dreaming something in with the earth, not to the earth, but with the earth.
Yeah, no, it's important, and there's a great power in that. And one of the lines in the guided meditation we do with the Earth Treasure Vase practice every full moon is to invite people to imagine that the healing is accomplished and the vitality of the earth is completely restored. And so what does that look like? What does that feel like? what would your experience be of that? And we don't really take the time to imagine that. We just go through our lives, blindly, really. And it's only a few of us who are really imagining it. And then once we imagine it, then we can start to actually act on that. So I think it begins with our opening to, as I've said before, something so much larger than ourselves. Whether we even know what that is or not, it doesn't matter. But just taking another breath and coming back to our true self, and this openness of being a vessel, and then being in that experience of open invitation to life, to come into us, to the spirit of what is most inspirational, and then the experience or the practice of visualization. It doesn't usually happen for people like that. It comes slowly, where we start to sense things. We start to maybe feel something, a little quickening, or but we might not see it for a while. But the more we practice, the more we come back to this place within ourselves and within the web of life, the more we create the conditions for that vision to be seen or experienced. And then, we simply open and invite that experience to come into us. But we have to cultivate it, because otherwise, you might have an experience, you might see something, but then if you talk about it too much, or you disperse it with distraction, which is so easy to do, our habits are so strong, then it'll go away. So we have to cultivate. It's like tilling the soil. We have to do that in order to create the conditions for these kinds of visions to take root. So that's where practice comes in, and you ask a question, in your practice, you might open to just even asking something like, what is this, opportunity? And then you're not thinking about it, but you're just allowing the vision, the inspiration to become clear. And the more we settle ourselves down, the more we stop the busy mind, and all the habitual stories and habits that we tell ourselves, the more chance we have to see things more clearly. And when we start to, we may start to see a little glimmer, and then, still we wait, we take the time for that glimmer to grow into something a little bit more clear. And pretty soon we know, oh, that's the next step, and that's what we act on. We don't act on some idea we think is the next step. We wait until we know in our embodied experience that, oh, right, and then what we're doing is we're actually building that more beautiful world. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense, yes. And it's back to the connection to our body, because the body is the earth, and we have moved so far away from that. But the more we come back to the body, the more we come back to this earth and to the connection with it. Makes sense. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. I want to ask you how you take, because you were speaking of this, how you take refuge in the earth. And I feel it's somehow also being connected, if you would tell us a little bit about your book, Summoned by the Earth, that is, due to come out. I don't know if those two are connected. It's just...
Well, it occurred to me before we began to share with you some refuge verses that I've written that could be a nice way to explain or answer that question. The book itself is about to go out to publishers. I don't have a publisher yet, so it's going to be a little while. So if you would light a candle and say a prayer for that book to come into the world in a beautiful way, I would be so grateful, because I've worked on it for quite a few years, and it's really timely and ready. And I'm excited. I'm very excited about it. And so more on that when the time comes, but stay close, stay connected.
I will certainly do that. That candle is already lit in my heart. I can tell you, I can feel the longing for that book in my heart. And I will hope the listeners will sit with that as well and just light a candle for that.
Yeah, so, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. The book has some of my own personal story in it, going to meet the old lama in the cave and all of that. And then what's happened over the many years of taking these treasure vases into cultures and communities all around the world where healing is called for, and in different ways. And then it also has a number of sort of practice chapters that are really talking about the teachings that have come through carrying this practice out into the world. And then the whole notion of how the earth is our great teacher, and my own calling and the feeling that I have that in these times that this is the opportunity that we have to wake up within the web of life. And so that's really the main purpose of the book, I guess. Yeah. So I also retell, in the very beginning, I retell the story of the Buddha's life as if the Buddha were a woman, and just to kind of open up the conversation, that is so oriented towards the patriarchal view of things. And anyway, lots more I could say about the book, but for now, I'd love to share these verses of refuge with you. And so
please
actually,
yeah,
thank you. Maybe shall I ring the bell to take us into a little bit deeper space? And I hope the sound of the bell will be not too echoey in the audio here, but so we'll just take a moment to find our seat and connect with our breath. Take a few deep, slow breaths in and out, coming back to our embodied experience in this moment that we've been given, this precious time to be together, to talk about all of these important things that connect us to each other and to the earth, and to our inspiration for life and our own calling. And another breath to feel into our deepest heart of hearts. Relaxing the mind, letting All the thoughts and feelings about the past or the future fall away. And with each breath, realizing that we're breathing in that very prana, the source of life on earth, the breath of life generated by the trees, the forests, the oceans, rivers, mountains, and all living beings. Perfection of wisdom, mother of Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and all beings, nourishing, holding, and healing all. Great Mother Earth, precious jewel of the cosmos, to you we bow in gratitude. We take refuge in the earth as our teacher, the one who shows us the way in this life. We take refuge in the earth as an expression of the Dharma, the teachings of interbeing, understanding, and love. We take refuge in the earth as an embodiment of the Sangha, the vast interdependent community of life in balance and harmony. Living within the web of life on earth, we dedicate ourselves to embodying awakened awareness on the path of healing in service to all beings. We dedicate our lives to realizing our oneness with Gaia.
Thank you so much. That was so beautiful. What an absolute blessing. And something when you were talking just dawned on me that had not dawned on me before. And I think it was Thich Nhat Hanh that said the next Buddha is the Sangha.
Yes.
And I've always thought of the Sangha as being a collective of human beings, but no, it's the earth. It's it's all of us. It's this whole interwoven things of being, of beingness, of everything living that is, the love between everything that is the next Buddha, that is the Sangha. So thank you for that blessing. That was amazing. Thank you for being with us here today. And for everybody listening, I will leave links to Cynthia's works and to the Earth Treasure Vase Global Healing Project and to everything you're doing, so you will be able to find that. I'm so touched in my heart right now that I don't even know what to say other than thank you for doing this, for being here with us. And thank you for all of the work you're doing for the earth. Everybody, thank you so much for today. I hope you've enjoyed this, and see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Earth Conversations podcast. If you'd like to explore more in-depth material on how to open up to hearing the conversation that the Earth is trying to have with us, please visit our blog at earthconversations.org, where you can also sign up to be notified through email when new podcast conversations are ready, along with new articles and events. We would like to thank you for taking the time today to open up to the heart of the Earth and her ways of communicating with us. It is our sincere wish that you will tune into this greater conversation that she so desperately seeks us to have with her at this moment in time. To find the track to the wonderful music that underscores this podcast, simply follow the link below to iTunes or Spotify. Please take good care of yourself and the Earth, and until next time, go lie your heart at the ground and listen.
É terra, é mar, é vida infinita, é amor incondicional, é abraço apertado, carinho sempre dado, o aconchego no colo e o alimento no peito. É vida infinita. Mother, 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 mother.